Hello friends, welcome to the channel. Bob here, and doing a new world video today. I was going to do a completely different video this morning, but I'm kind of want to do a video just showing you like what I'm doing at level 60, so you can see what the gameplay's like at level 60, the sort of stuff you've got to do. Yeah, and if that's something that you feel you might like, but that's kind of going to take me all day really, and I'm not up to it today, so I thought I would just do a quick different video on a different topic that I was going to do a video about anyway. So yeah, just doing them the other way around, shall we say. This video is going to be about people, players, community. I thought I'd talk a bit about that because it's quite interesting. Now, my experiences have been mixed, as you would expect, and the real strange stuff comes from when you're out gathering. Essentially, that's where the drama kind of occurs. I normally find. My experiences have been very mixed. When I was leveling up mining, I got a little route going to grind out the experience for it. Yeah, and there were three. Well, as I was going around my route, there were three people who basically accused me of being a bot. Now, the way that I normally do routes, this route I kind of know pretty well now where the iron is. I'm just like just casually mining some iron this morning, and I know where to go for this kind of stuff generally. So yeah, it's not. This is all contained in a very small area. But I was mining star metal, and I came up with a little route for myself. And what I was doing, which I just think seems to be the smart thing to do. It looks like there's an iron vein right over there in the distance. Yeah, the smart thing to do to me always seems to be, no, it's a tree. Lol. Always seems to be to know. The most important thing is to know the first spawn, to know the spawn timers of your first node, whatever it may be. That's what I, particularly if it's a route where it's busy and there's a lot of people around and there's a lot of nodes to go to. I just think that if you know the spawn time of your first node, and then you go along your route, then if you're picking up stuff along the route as well, what that means is that when you go back to the start again, you kind of there is a randomness to the spawns of the nodes. Not completely random. It normally falls. I kind of find like these iron veins. I kind of find like 15, 20 minutes, maybe even a bit less than that. The star metal, I was kind of finding it was like 18 minutes, anything from 18 to 25. Although maybe that was just I'm not sure. I think it depends on the size of the node as well. So it's difficult to get an exact idea, but it's good to know when your first node is going to spawn. So when you know the spawn timer of that and you go along your route, and if you're picking stuff up along your route, I'm sorry, I'm just repeating myself here, but when you go back to the start of your route again, what it means is that you will, what, am I in the right place? It means that when you if you hit your first node again, as you're going through your route, you know roughly when those other ones are going to spawn. Like they're going to spawn around the time you get to them, roughly. That's kind of like my that's my idea. And the good thing about doing that as well is also when you're going along the route, nodes that had been mined before kind of appear, so you get those as well. So eventually it gets to a point where you're hitting nodes, you're hitting nodes where they're all about to spawn, and that's the ideal. And I think what was happening here essentially was it was just like saltiness, that these people, because these people hadn't taken the time to do that, they weren't getting anything. Yeah, so they just assume that you're a bot because you'd put a bit of extra work in to find out the mechanics and kind of how things are going. The interesting thing, though, is that is the righteous indignation of these people. Because you're doing very well and they're not. They just assume you're a bot. So there's no polite message saying, look, are you a bot? You seem to be doing really well. I mean, I wouldn't do that. If I saw someone randomly running around mining stuff and they were doing well, then that's my tough cheese. You just got to move on and accept that. But yeah, it wasn't even a polite message, even though I would just ignore it. Not the message, the fact that someone was doing really well. I think it must be easy to tell what a bot is, I would have thought. I don't know. I don't know how good bots are nowadays, but I was like randomly running around all over the shop, so it wasn't as though I was following a set pattern or a set route. Yeah, so it was a bit weird. Yeah, but it was the fact that they had just assumed that I was a bot straight away. There wasn't any message to say, look, blah de blah de blah. It was, oh, you're a bot, I'm going to report you. And then when you talk to them, you don't get, obviously you don't get an apology. You just get, that kind of thing. I thought you was a bot, and yeah, and that was it. And one of the players actually tried to train some mobs down on me. So they brought some mobs along, which are around their level, which is a bit weird. And obviously I moved out the way. They didn't quite understand. Although aggro can be a bit flaky in the game, they didn't quite understand how aggro worked, and I just moved well out of the way. So then they had to deal with the mobs, and yeah, because they were about their level, there was 3 or 4 of them. They didn't have much of a good time, and I didn't help them. I was stuff you, mate. That was my attitude. I think I'm just waiting for my nose to spawn now. I normally put some little markers down, like I'll put my camp up here, where I know my camp is just right next to a node that spawns. That's what I quite like. Yeah, so it's the assumption that you were a bot just because you were doing well. Yeah, and I sort of had this like 3 times. It was quite a strange thing. I don't know if there's a whole different mentality for playing this game, and I'm not sure if it's to do with the fact that it's a new game. Like, I'm an old git, so the MMOs that I play classic MMOs on emulated servers. So I play classic EverQuest, like, for the most part, like proper EverQuest, when it was like hardcore, and in those games you kind of respect people's, generally, obviously you get trolls and you get people training other people and you get idiots and stuff, but there's an unwritten rule where you respect other people's tags. So if they tag a mob, yeah, you generally leave it. Maybe you'll chuck a heal if they need the help, or buff them, or whatever it may be, but generally that's theirs and they loot it. But in this game, it's yeah, it's a bit of a different matter. So as far as people seeming to be quite stressed about bots, to an extent where they're willing to just be rude to people without any real evidence. Is that a little one there? Oh yeah, there we go. You become adept at spotting the ore nodes just out the corner of your eye. Yeah, so rather than so their immediate response is one of being they're kind of being a dick while accusing you of being a dick, which is yeah, I'm sure you can see the irony in that. I mean, my bots don't really affect my life. I'm not, if I saw one, I'd think, oh, whatever. But then the thing I feel is that, how do I know it is really? I don't want to get into this self-righteous kind of, I'm going to report you, blah blah blah. Then you report someone and they were just perfectly innocent. I don't know. Maybe there's an obvious way of telling a bot. I'm not sure. Yeah, but even if I saw one, I'm not sure it wouldn't bother me to a point where I would send someone a rude message. That just seems yeah, a bit mental. But yeah, maybe that's just maybe modern MMOs are like that. There's more of this stuff going on, so people go from game to game and they just become more sick and tired of this kind of thing until, yeah, they themselves not acting in a particularly good way. But it happens with other things as well, like just gathering from a node, whatever it may be, whether it's metal or fibre or whatever. You get people compete for it, which is fine, but then you get people like, I've had situations where, say that tree was an iron node, like I hadn't noticed it around me, so I'm running up to it and I'm about here, and someone will come from behind me using like some kind of like fast movement speed and get it, and I think there's competitive, and then there's again that like being a massive smeghead. Like if I was behind someone and I was running to an iron node, I would just go to the next one. I don't really see that. I've also had some weird things where, like, I'm fighting a mob. Like, so say this tree's a mob I'm fighting. This one here, and there's these other trees are other mobs of a similar type. And I've had someone run past all of those mobs to hit my one. So I understand that. This game's got one of those things where if you tag a mob, you get weapon XP for it. So it's like, it's easy XP. I'll tag this mob that's almost nearly dead. But really, like, in the time it's taking you to run past the other mobs, you probably just could have killed 1 or 2 of them and got more XP. Yeah, it's just that kind of thing. Yeah, I guess some people would say it's like competitiveness, like you're competing for it. It's one of those kind of hang-ups of the fact that the game was going to be a PvP only game and now it's not. And there are certain things, I think I said in my last video, certain things that just don't work in a PvE environment. And maybe this is one of those things. Got a little bit of corruption here, which I will clear out. On this little route here where I'm going for my iron, you do get these corruption spawns. It's quite nice though, because it's kind of like free. I can, you should be able to solo these level for the 35s, even the 45s. I think I've soloed. Yeah, so it's just clearing them out basically, and you get some. It's free as off, and you might. These are only low level ones, but you might get like a little piece of corrupted material that you can make the keys for the expeditions and stuff. So we'll just clear these dudes out. It's normally pretty easy. The portal ones are my least favourite ones because they take the longest, essentially, because you've got like a spawn thing. Yeah. Oh, that was a great shot, Bob. I'm kind of planning my. I mean, I've still got quite a long way to go, but I'm kind of planning my. I guess like what I want to do end game from a build point of view. I don't think it's going to be healing. I had a really natty build that I really enjoyed, and it was a combination. It was an int based. It was an int based build, but it incorporated all the weapons that. This is normally like a little boss you get to kill at the end. It incorporated all of the imp weapons, so also like the musket and the rapier as well. And I really enjoyed it. It was quite interesting because there was a couple of weapons that had some CC on. There was a weapon that had like movements. Two weapons that had movement speed, so fire staff as well. I enjoyed it. I found it probably the most interesting combat that I've done. It was when I was going through that period where I was trying to make the combat more interesting for myself because I just find it quite repetitive. So my in-game build might be like an int plus some dex kind of build, and like really try and pump out the damage on those. Oh, here we go. On those weapons, yeah, that seems quite a fun thing to do. And the musket was like the musket. Like before I got into the Ice Gauntlet, the musket was my favourite weapon. Like in beta and stuff, I think I got it to 20 in one of the betas, or maybe the pre-release, maybe the preview thing, all that time ago. It was one of my favourite weapons, and it kind of just gave me that kind of like ranger hunter vibe. And with a little bit of dex, I could also maybe like mix in the bow as well. I guess it depends on also what new weapons are coming. In the future, like the Void Gauntlet seems like it might be my kind of deal, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, back to the topic on hand. There's a bit of a as you know, if you watch my videos, I do distract myself and go off on tangents. But yeah, so I don't know if it's just a thing with a modern MMO thing. Maybe this is how. I mean, as I haven't played any modern MMOs. I play emulated classic MMOs, or I play new MMOs that are aimed at being more, of a late 90s MMO with smaller communities. So I don't really know. Maybe that's how it is. I played Black Desert Online for a very very short space of time, literally a few hours, and gave up on that. But maybe that's what those games are like. But the other positive that really interesting that happened yesterday was I was at Boar's Home, which is just a place where you kill boars and get thick hides. And as we were going around, there was 3 of us in the place. It's not that huge, but the boars spawn really quickly. And someone sent me a tell. One of the people there sent me a tell saying like, thanks for being the most like considerate 60 that I've come across here. The other guy, what the other guy was doing was when you were fighting, he was a spear user, and he had there's a couple of attacks that knock mobs back. So you would get a mob almost dead, and then he would use one of his abilities to knock it away from you. Quite often you're in the middle of an animation, and he would quickly run up and finish it off and skin the thing. And I replied back to her saying, "What you mean, like not like the other guy?" Because he was being a massive smeghead. Yeah, and it was amazing. Like, it was amazing that someone sent me a towel and just say like thanks for being a decent player, and it kind of made me think. Well, like what sort of experiences have they had? You know, are people having like really bad experiences in the game? I don't know. I think, as I said in my previous video, you know, it's a big population game. It's got the biggest population of an MMO that I've played probably ever. You know, even like back in the Ultra Online EverQuest days, I don't think that many people played those games. Maybe Warcraft, I'm not sure, but you know, Warcraft was instanced to a certain degree in some form. Or was it? Some of it was, wasn't it? Um, so it makes you wonder the sort of experiences people are having that someone took the time out to just say, what the two of us were doing as opposed to the other person was that, you know, even if I saw one of them running to a boar, I would just move away and go for another one. You know, that was what we were doing. That just seemed to be the decent thing to do. And I'm not saying that all new modern MMO players are, you know, numpties, or it's still those young people, those bloody millennials and whatever. It's those kids, those teenagers. If it wasn't for those teenagers, I'd have got them a boar. You know, I'm not saying that, but and then, you know, in the classic MMOs that I do play, you do get smeg heads as well. That's not, you know, I'm not trying to say it doesn't happen, but I'm finding more smeg headery in this game currently. But that could just be because there's a bigger population. But yeah, as you know, I do like the whole player psychology thing. I kind of like, it's a bit like sitting outside a cafe with a cup of coffee, you know, and a bacon sandwich. And just watching people go by and trying to imagine, like, what does that person do, and that kind of thing. There's kind of that element to it. And this game's got loads of it, you know, loads of those kind of interactions where, got loads of gems there. Those kind of interactions where, where you think, okay, fair enough, and then sometimes you think, that's quite good. But the good experiences have been, well, I suppose the good experiences are the experiences where you don't have an experience. So I guess that means that most of the time things are fine. It's only these odd little things here that thingy. Yeah, but I don't know if people are just like really sick of bots in games. I don't know. I've never really experienced them because I didn't play WoW or, you know, BDO or whatever the game may be. In the games that I play, you kind of get like kind of bots, but not real bots. But they're kind of like bots, gold making bots, but out in the open. Like, you know, a couple of games I've played in the past are played by some bloke. I like to call him RMT Dragon. He goes by some other name. I like to call him things a lot less polite than that, but there you go. Yeah, he's one of those players who, like back in the old days, would like break terms of service to sell gold, and I think he was involved with Chinese gold farmers and all that kind of thing. He kind of does it like semi-legitimately now, but you know, like there's no enjoyment for the game there. You know, he basically plays the games because he can make real money from them, which is fine if that's your business. But I can't understand people watching that kind of thing, because you can tell when you watch those people that they're just not they're not very good at the games. They're just not interested in the game really. It's about what they can get out of it. And I guess the RMTers and the gold, you know, the bots farming and selling gold are a bit like that. They're not doing anything because they enjoy it. You know, it's a living. Yeah, but maybe, as I said, like maybe people are just like really got sick of that kind of thing. If you're coming from game after game where you've got those kind of things in it, yeah, maybe it just maybe you're at the end of your wick. So when you see someone you think might be a bot, you just send them a rude message. Anyway, what I'll try and do this week is to do that video that I was talking about, where I kind of show you. I've got a couple more corruption spawns. I think this one. I'll show you this one. I think this one might be. There's some I don't like because they take too long. These ones are alright actually, because you just break through this veil, and then you just concentrate on killing the boss, and there you go. Oh, hello. There's the boss. Oh, that was another good shot with my healing. I probably don't need my healing here, but it's just habit, really. The high level ones, these are really hard. Like I was in, I think is it Merkgard? I think I was in Merkgard yesterday afternoon. We were running around doing like chess runs and stuff, and yeah, like those ones are really hard. Like there was like there must have been like 20, 30 people clearing those ones, and still people were dying. I mean, I say they're hard. It's like a hill spam. You hill spam, DPS spam, and you win basically. But yeah, those ones are really hard. But you do get some nice rewards. What I like about these, just soloing these little ones though, is you do get some. You do get some Azoth. So Azoth becomes quite a rare commodity as you get to 60. Believe it or not, you can refill your Azoth stock fairly easily if you do corruption runs and whatnot, the high level ones. But I like the fact that for every one I do here, I get a little bit of a boost. I'm trying to remember which one I need to go now. Anyway, the video's, I'm waffling now. The video's gone on longer than it needs to be. Yeah, this is just a little bit about my player experiences so far in the community. There seemed, it's a mixed bag, as you would expect with so many players. There are some like real scumbags, and then there are some real nice people who still kind of value not only their gameplay experience, but but other people's gameplay experience as well. And I don't think I'm being particularly snowflakey there. I just think that I don't think that's a bad thing to just to respect other people's gameplay experience. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you again soon.